Hello, dear Thrivers, for another Thriver Talk where we inspire you to know that it is possible to heal for real from narcissistic abuse in accelerated timeframes from the inside. And today I've got the lovely Hayley with me. Welcome, Hayley. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you. Welcome.
Yeah, and Hayley's story is really special and it is inspiring because like a lot of beautiful people in our community, it was really tough for Hayley to finally leave. And a lot of us do know that story, but she's thriving today and she's going to share her story. So, Hayley, how about we just jump straight into it and you share about your story? Who this person was, what was happening, and what led you. Yeah, just start with that.
Okay, so this person was eventually my husband and the father of my child as well. So we were together for just under 10 years. I met him when I was 20 years old. It was a instant connection, a
Mm.
for me, what I thought it was. The first person to call me beautiful. I was swooned in very, very quickly and thought he was the one, thought he was the best thing in the world, the love of my life. Eventually, looking back, I definitely felt those gut instincts to not stay and be with him. But I didn't say no to people very often when I was younger. So I definitely got reeled into that relationship quite quickly. Um, and yeah, it happened at full speed. So
Mm.
we were living together not long after, and yeah, my anxiety was pretty strong at that point. Early in the relationship, there was a lot of abuse happening from the start. So yeah, and then we ended up getting married and having my son. Uh, and yeah, did you want a little bit about the abuse in the relationship or?
I think we'll just touch on a couple of points before we do, and then we definitely will. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's completely consistent with that narcissistic connection, like what you said. Like I had gut
yeah,
feelings. So many of us did right at the start, but yet there was such a powerful force and like a familiarity and that
yeah,
feeling of my one and only that we ignored our intuition. And a lot of us moved really fast as well. I mean, I was 34 and I married him within 4 months, which is something I
yeah,
never would have
wow,
believed I'd do. So
yeah,
yeah, it's and I know it happens for people in their 60s and their 70s that it's such an instant fast thing. So thank you for sharing that because that's just a really important thing. And before we move on to the next question, I just want to urge people who are watching this, please share this video, get it out there because there's so many people that have been through the experiences that we're going to talk about today. And also to, write your comments, helps with the algorithms. And also, too, if you want to not just survive, but you want to thrive after narcissistic abuse, please write thrive on and make that declaration because this is everything that we stand for in this community. All right, so back to your story. Yes, please, Hayley, tell us about what was happening, the symptoms, and how bad they got at the worst.
yeah. So the abuse was mainly mental and emotional and verbal that continued throughout the entire relationship. But there was a lot of mistrust from him early on with no cause. I'm sure that's very familiar for people.
Oh,
Um,
gosh. Yes.
so I had to be in the right place at the right time when I
Oh,
said I was going to be there. Otherwise, it was the third degree. And yeah, very early on, I never wanted anybody to think that I was doing anything wrong or anything bad. So I did make a point to do the right thing and, obey by the rules. I
oh
guess
gosh.
once I guess once that was noted, it elevated or escalated as it does in these relationships. So
Oh, wow.
I,
So true.
yeah, yeah, it's very common, and well, now I'm learning that it
Mm,
is. I just want to sympathize with people who don't know that they're in it,
mm,
because I didn't know that I
mm.
was in it until I was pregnant with my son. So, and I was with him for years before that. So obviously something felt wrong, but not to the extent of who I when I saw him for who he was. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, the abuse was pretty bad. I He used to be very unpredictable. That was probably my biggest trigger. So I didn't know what was going to happen day to day. I had multiple
Yes.
personalities. Yeah,
Mm.
that was big.
You don't
Very,
know who
very.
you're going home to. You don't know whether they're set off. You don't know whether they're going to
Mm-mm.
be lovely, whether they're going to be horrific.
Yeah, yeah, and that's yeah, just waking up with them as well. You don't know what they're going to be like. So
Yeah.
I had that experience that was very full on, and he was very yeah, like suffocating in terms of not having me not having a life. And I did lose a lot of my life, you know. It was
Yeah.
revolved around him and his needs and wants, and I was happy to do that at the time because I liked
Mm,
making the people I love happy, and that
mm.
ended up just feeling normal in a really strange way. It's not normal, but it you get used to it, so it feels normal.
And
Um,
it's been our
yeah,
programming and our conditioning too, that, it's, well, a lot of guys do it too. And a lot of guys are really good guys and they just want to make their woman happy and they
yeah,
get hooked into narc relationships. And for us as women, it's like, well, that's what you do. You back your man. I did it too. And our stories in this way are incredibly similar.
yeah, yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people have had this experience as well, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
He was physical. He'd, come up behind me and grab my hair or throw me on the bed, do things like that.
Yeah.
Very rough, and didn't say no,
Mm.
didn't stop when I said no. Um,
That's exactly when that stuff explodes, when you try to
yeah,
assert your own sovereignty and your own rights and freedom, then that, yeah,
yeah. And the unpredictability, you don't know what they're gonna do. Are they just gonna name call you, or are they gonna take it further? That's
yes.
Yeah, something that's yeah, very, very scary. I was very, very scared of this man. He was very sexually abusive.
Mm,
That was something big for me.
mm,
And yeah, he tried very hard to get me to turn against everybody that I loved. And I'm very close with my family, and it was
mm.
almost successful. But I would not. I'm so glad I never let that happened, because yeah, they're very good at their manipulation and tactics.
And I
Yeah.
just want to say, when we posted Hayley's Thriver story up in Facebook, it was so cute and beautiful. Your parents jumped on and they said, "We're so proud of our girl." And it was just, I loved that. They're beautiful people, your parents. They definitely are.
Yeah, they're very
So-
supportive. Mm.
And they've been through this whole journey with you, and they're also, grandchildren to your son and grandparents to your son. And yeah, at your worst, Hayley, with all of this going on, what did your breakdown look like?
Yeah, so I had one big one when I wasn't in the house. When I was in the house, I tried to leave, and that wasn't successful because I told him. You learn
Mm.
that very quickly not to tell.
Yes.
I did leave. I left, and we went away a fair bit, so we left, and I went to my parents' house. And then it was very full on. It was very full on with messages. And it actually
Mm.
got to a point for me where I feel like I was so close to going back. And I can understand why women do and men do,
Yeah.
because they put you in this position where they make your life so horrible that you think to yourself, would it be better if I just went back? Even though you know it's not,
Yeah.
they make it so horrible for you. And then the court
Yeah.
proceedings started, and due to threats and his ability to overpower me physically, I did have a fear
Mm.
that he was going to take my son away from me. And I had a even bigger fear that the courts were going to agree with him because I believed him at the time. And so my biggest breakdown was when I found out that we were going to court, and I went down the road and I was calling people up trying to make myself feel better. And I don't know why, but I bought cigarettes. I don't know why I wasn't smoking. And and nothing was working. And I just had this really quiet moment for a few seconds. And I just remember knowing and hearing that it was up to me and me only. And I could either get up, I could go down a road, leave everything behind, just run away, or I can stand up and have a better life. And I chose to have my better life and work on it every day and put in the hard yards, because I knew I had to. Yeah.
Your higher self. I love it when we get those messages, those intuitions, and our higher self is always there, especially in our darkest times. Like that's when it comes if we listen. So your symptoms, what were they?
Yeah, I had panic attacks, very high anxiety, cognitive dissonance. I was extremely vague. I felt like I had a huge cloud around my head. And
brain fog.
Brain fog. That was huge for me. I had achy body. I had really chronic headaches. Had like digestive issues, everything like that. Migraines were really bad.
It hits the body hard. It really, it's what trauma does.
Yeah.
So what were you doing to try to get well and deal in as far as the emotional state and the symptoms?
So I was seeing a psychologist, and can I tell you a funny story about that? This is so funny.
Yeah.
The ex-narcissist, when I learned about who he was, he claimed that I was crazy, right? And sent me to this lady. And well, he sent me to a psychologist. So I went, and she was the person who got me out of the house. She was the person who told me what it was and supported me to get out of the house.
Good.
Yeah.
So good.
I was doing that, and I ended up seeing a counselor as well because of the distance, because my parents were a couple of hours away. Not that I was gonna do anything silly, but when everything was closed, I used to call those hotlines and just say, "Can you please explain what's going on with me? Something's not right." And just women's courses. So learning about what it was, learning about how to, have your boundaries, which, things like that. My own research as well.
Yeah. So how was that going, all of that stuff?
It was, the start of it was hard because I didn't know what domestic violence was. So, and that level of abuse, I had never experienced that in my life. Especially to that extent. So, and for that long. So learning about it was an eye-opener. But I just ended up feeling like I was, I was moving forward because I had support, but it was like nothing inside me was moving. It's like all those emotions were still there. I was still like struggling with all of the symptoms that I had that I mentioned. So, it was good to talk to somebody, but I also felt like I was at a standstill at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, because information alone isn't transformation. It's just not. So what was happening in your life? What was the defining moment when you found our wonderful community?
Yeah, so I must have been just on my phone having a look and doing some research as to how to get help. I was getting it, but I wanted more, and I had a yearning for more, that feeling inside where you're like, there's something that's got to work, I'm not staying with this the rest of my life. I'm just not.
Yeah.
You want to move past, and have a great life. And yeah, I jumped on and I read, I think it was your website, and I read, and you listed everything for the first time. You listed everything that I was going through, everything I felt. And I said to myself, I have to try this, because if they're saying exactly what I'm going through, as no one has ever explained it, then there's got to be something to it. So yeah, that's when I joined up. Yeah.
So when you joined the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program, NARP, were you hadn't had the court case yet, or where was that?
To be honest with you, I actually can't remember. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't remember where I was up to. I was trying to think of that today, funny enough, but yeah, I'm not sure
Yeah.
where I was up to.
Yeah, and that's just, yeah, like it's all a daze and a haze back then, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just because it was so mind frying, like
Yeah.
having to go to court with these people and you know, all of that stuff.
Yeah, you're in
So
survival mode.
totally. Okay, so you started with NARP, you signed up and you started doing the healings. Then what happened?
So I remember the first time I did a healing, I put my son to bed, I put it on, and I sat on the lounge and I said, as scared as you are right now to try something new, because I was scared. I didn't know what it was. And it was very different for me.
Yeah.
I said, anything's better than what you've gone through. So we're just going to be brave and take a deep breath and do it and dive straight in. And I just sat there, and I don't know how long I was on the lounge for. And all of a sudden, I can't remember how many healings I did. Maybe 5 or 10, and I just felt this
Wow.
huge release in my body, and it felt light. And I remember one night I was crying, and I had done a healing, and I must have been letting stuff out, because you're letting your toxins out. It's quite a lot. And I woke up and I didn't have red eyes. I looked younger actually, and I was like, what is this? And I was like, this is amazing. And I just kept at it. 2 weeks later, stopped drinking, stopped caffeine. I haven't drunk since, actually, caffeine or alcohol. And
Wow.
I was sleeping better. I was eating better. My digestive system was so much better already. I had a clearer mind. There was still lots to heal, but I could feel it instantly. And yeah, I couldn't wait to jump in and keep going.
And it's so true. Once the trauma leaves, like pus from a wound, oxygen and nutrients can start working, and our body and our mind can, and our soul can start resetting back to our true essence, which is healed and health. And it happens for us. So that is so awesome. So then what happened with him? Was he still relentless and a problem? Because you were co-parenting and all that stuff. So how was all of that going in your healing journey?
Yeah, good question. I remember he got a girlfriend pretty early on, so that was
How
distracted
unusual.
him.
Excuse the sarcasm. I have a
Multiple
saying
girlfriends.
that usually happens as quickly as it takes to boil an egg.
Yeah. So that distracted him. So he was, I don't know, the expression got the monkey off my back. So
yeah.
And yes, still did. So that reduced significantly, because
Good.
he had someone in his life, and still does. So that was fine.
Yeah.
For me.
And look
With the
at you
court,
too, you know, like, because that thing is when we're replaced, if we're not doing the inner work, then it can bring up all of those things. Well, what was wrong with me? And I'm unworthy and I'm unlovable. And the people who love me, you know, replace me and abandon me. And, you know, and I went through that horrifically, you know, first time round, because, you know, the first narcissist, I didn't have NARP. Clearly, second time round, that was gone like that. Thank goodness. So,
I must admit, I had that with the first one as well. I was, and I just blamed it on because I was younger, but yeah, I was so, I mean, obviously I mourned having a family. I always had this thing where family's supposed to be forever. Marriage is
Yeah,
supposed
they're
to
big
be
beliefs.
forever.
Yes,
Yeah. But
yes.
I've got to say the day that I got divorced, I was so happy. I was
That is
so
fantastic.
excited. So that was really nice.
Mm.
But
And when
yeah,
we're unhealed, that's horrific too, for a lot of people, unless they're
yeah,
just really angry and mad and, well, better off without you. But when it's
yeah,
authentic and you just cleansed, it's like, yes. So
yeah.
that is awesome. That is so, so good. So the thing with the co-parent, okay, so what happened with the court case? What happened with all of that?
So the court proceedings probably was wrapped up within 2 years. I still had a lot of fear when I was going through that, but I did get a lot of support.
Mm,
So that was as slow of a process as I could make it for my son. So it had to be supervised, and then time
mhm,
was, as he got older each year, there was a little bit of time added till it stopped.
mm.
And then I just
So
kept
how did you
healing.
get
Yeah.
those wins? How did you get those things in place? Because a lot of people believe it's completely impossible and you just can't. So how did that happen?
I wasn't really in uh, as knowledgeable as I am with my healings back then. So when I was doing my healings, I just healed anything that came up.
And do you
So
know what, Hayley?
yeah,
That's actually the best thing to do. You know, yeah, keep going. It's because your body knows what needs to go next, especially when you're in high conflict situations. It's
yeah,
just what arises is what we heal.
yeah. And
Pick
to
it
get
up,
me
let it go,
through,
replace it with the light of your higher self, and then it just starts dissolving within and without. Yeah, keep
yeah,
going.
yeah, that's so true.
Mm,
So yeah, I would heal. I'd also listen to the community and the group. I was writing
yeah,
in and asking questions, and there was so much
perfect.
guidance. It was
Mm,
like magnitude volume of guidance of which modules to go to, where that would be best suited, even sending like little warm messages that were so kind. You felt so
yeah.
understood and supported.
Mm,
And that was
mm,
all wonderful. And then when I was healing, someone would say something and it would help me get through that situation. Or, uh, you know, like my son hasn't seen his dad since April this year.
yeah.
Um, and that was his choice. When I was healing, he got more confident, and
Mm.
I became accepting of that relationship. And because at the start, I
Yes,
was
this
like,
is so
yeah,
key what you're about to say. And yeah,
yeah,
keep going.
yeah. So when I was doing it all my focus was protecting him and covering him, and
Mhm,
just wanting him to be shielded. So when that narcissist got time, I was devastated, and I
mm.
didn't want that at all.
Of
So that's what
course,
I
like
was
a normal
feeling.
caring mother with somebody is deranged and controlling and not well.
Yeah, yeah. And also he didn't want to go at the time, so taking him there
That
was
makes it doubly
horrendous.
hard.
And
And then the
and
court
then
says
yeah,
they have to, and it's law and all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and then they come back and they're different, and you can literally see on your children the games that have been played and
Mhm.
the tactics that they've used. And then I still realized that I had that fear of him taking my son away, but in an emotional way. So I had to
Yes.
work on that. And
So
yeah,
what
so my
modules
yeah.
did you use for that? Did you do module 8 stuff about the fear of what he could do, or did you do other modules?
Yeah, I did. I just followed, yeah, what was there. I think I did two, I did eight, I
Mm.
did I did a few of them, but if it was something that I was had a multiple of things come up, I just went to one, and I just always
Yes,
went to one. That
perfect.
was my big one, yeah. So uh
Perfect.
and also the other big one was the boundaries, was for me as well. So
Module
that was
6.
the module 6, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big one for me as well, and 4. So yeah, so I did all
So
of
you
that,
were
and yeah,
diligent. You were really diligent. I know that, you
yeah,
know, in our Shifts Happen group, you put out a post and you inspired others just recently, and you were saying to them, just get out of your head,
yeah,
just feel it in your body, and just follow your body and just do the healings, you know.
yeah, yeah. And that is the biggest thing, I think. I think it's just to
Mm,
keep going, or just keep healing. Every time something comes up, just
mm,
heal it, and just heal it. And I remember last year, I think it was, because when this is my experience anyway, I believe people will relate, but when you are in the thick of it and you have so much trauma in your body and you feel like you've got this huge, dense heaviness and it's thick and it doesn't feel good. And I
mm,
was like, I was doing my healings and I was doing them, and I was like, I want to get to the end of the tunnel on this.
mm,
This thickness of this, what my
mm.
trauma will release. I just feel like it will. So I I kept healing and healing, and then I saw. I remember the day I saw the light at the end of the tunnel,
Yep.
and ever since then, ever since that
Mm,
big release, and
mm,
I knew the majority of my trauma had gone, like that, the really intense stuff. I haven't had anything
mm.
even resembling close to it since. Everything's
My
been so much easier. Mm.
my experience and so many other people's is exactly the same. And what you've described is really perfect. And there's 2 types of people that do the modules. There's people that say, this won't shift, it's not changing, not realizing that they're prime source creators, and whatever we declare and whatever we stand in is going to manifest into our reality to the letter. And as you said, I said, I know that this is going to shift. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like with our traumas, we've got a brick wall and we pull out a brick at a time. And then one day the whole wall falls down and we can see we're standing in this beautiful pasture. And it's really palpable that day.
Mm.
And exactly the same thing
Mm.
happened for me. And it's happened
Yeah.
for countless others. But they were the people who just said, I know, you know, and they're clearing up traumas all the way. You know, there's things
Yeah.
that are changing and up leveling, but you know, that thing that kind of is like our identity and our existence, that I'm a traumatized individual that's been severely abused, that dense bit by bit, you chip, and then one day it's just gone and you come out and you're resurrected, literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long did that
Yeah.
take, Hayley, from start to when you had that experience to when you started NARP?
Uh, I think it was a couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was a couple of years. Yeah. And
yeah,
I had a lot there though. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
As everyone does.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it is a beautiful feeling when you have that. And I had things like, I had, oh gosh, look how far that person's along, or oh gosh, am I ever going to
yeah,
get there? And those little
yeah,
voices like, this isn't working. And,
yeah.
I must admit, before that tunnel, I had, I had huge, breakdowns. Like I had
Mm,
big stuff come up before, and
mm,
one of
mm,
them was getting me to try, like, to stop healing. One of them was like, nah, this isn't working. You're not going
mm,
anywhere. I was like,
mm,
and just kept shifting, and then boom,
mm,
this breakthrough. And I was like, if I had listened to
mm.
that voice, and
Exactly.
stopped, no, because
Mm.
my life is so cool now. So
Yeah, your life is really cool now, and we're going to get to that. And the ego is really insistent. It wants our pain body. It wants us stuck in fear, pain, and suffering, because that's the loosh that it feeds off, which is the internal narcissist. So it will try to stop you ascending and releasing trauma. It's just the
yeah,
way it works. And you know, some people burst through in months. Some people have, you know, but you went right into breakdown and you had a child with him and you had all sorts of stuff with him. It was, and also too, you know, you are a really caring, loving, highly sensitive person. You're
mm,
an intuitive person who's probably, you know, been on the softer side all of your life, it's a real assault to the soul if you're that kind of person. You know, people that are
Yeah,
kind
it
of
is.
a little bit naturally have been a bit feistier, I guess, tend to break through quicker. But your journey is perfect, and everybody's journey is perfect, no matter how it is. But yeah, 2 years is nothing compared to 20 lifetimes of continuing the same pattern. It's nothing.
Yeah. And also, you know, if I started healings now, everything's so much more rapid. Like my healings are so fast now that, yeah, it'd probably take
Yeah.
a few months.
Well, yeah. And and the other thing is too, because now we've got speedy shifts, you know, like we've
Yeah,
got the 7 or the 10-minute like healings. They used to be 2 hours long when you were first involved. So it's
yeah,
actually, you're right, it's sped up now from those 2 years now anyway, just with the
yeah.
nature of speedy shifts. So what was the best thing about NARP for you? I ask everybody this. What was the best thing?
The best thing, um, I don't know if I could say one. The best thing is having myself and my life back, but at a place where like I couldn't even imagine, because when you're in relationships like that, you lose so much. And
Yeah.
when you heal, you gain 4 times, 10 times that. And I
Mm.
remember having so many beautiful moments where I would heal, and then all of a sudden, like I feel like my own person. I feel like the leader of my like life, you know, like the person who I don't feel dictated by anybody anymore. I feel like I can make decisions and be at one with source and be
Mm.
happy, and then I would have another breakthrough and I'd feel like, wow, everything in my life just seems to be going so wonderful, and
Mm.
it feels effortless, and excuse me, and yeah,
Mm.
it's lot. There's so many wonderful things about NARP. It's a life changer.
Because, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Because a big consensus out there, which I find really frustrating and very sad, is that life's never going to be the same after narcissistic abuse, that you're going to
Yeah,
be diminished, you're going to have abuse symptoms. We get told this professionally, that it's going to take you, you may never trust others and life again. You may never risk love again. And you
yeah.
certainly can't trust yourself because it's like, well, my picker is so broken. But if you were to rate your life before the abuse with him out of 10, 10 being the best, what would you have given at a rating before meeting him?
Probably like a friendly 5 or 6,
About a
5. Yeah,
5.
yeah.
So since being desecrated by him
Hmm.
and recovering your sovereign, authentic self,
Hmm.
which is what the work on the inside does when it's the right work, what would you rate your life now out of 10?
A 10.
Wow, a 10.
Yeah.
I love
I was
that.
living I was living very unconsciously previous to this, to that
Yeah.
narcissistic relationship. I was just flying off the seat of my pants, really. And
It was our normal. We didn't
yeah,
know our unconscious skirmishes. We just thought we were doing what everybody else does, bang around in life, trying to make the best of it. We had not been forced to our knees to ascend ourselves.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. At 10, that
Just
makes
going
me
along
so
to get along.
happy.
Mm.
All right. So what was the worst thing about NARP?
There wasn't anything bad about NARP. It was just more so me needing to uh continue at it. I was really just my worst enemy for a while there. And
Yeah.
then but now it's just so easy. It's just
Mm.
it
Hmm.
used to feel like a battle, and I thought it was my healings, but it wasn't. It was just because I had so much trauma. Whereas now I might get a
Mm.
trigger or something might
Mm.
happen,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, okay, I just got to heal that. And then I just
Mm.
heal it, and it's easy. And then
And
all of
you
a
know
sudden
what? The
weird things will
trigger,
happen.
yeah. And it really is, because the more that we're triggered and something goes off, the more our brain kicks in, trying to give us an answer or a solution, or we go into fight or flee, trying to minimize the trigger. But because the brain's
Yeah.
following the body, it makes the trigger worse, because we can only think within the bandwidth of the trigger. And we've all been taught to do this. It's insanity. And
Yeah.
even, in personal development and spiritual development, I didn't know until this whole trip that less thinking, more shifting. Just open your body, breathe, do a module, pick it up, feel it. You don't need to go into the memory of it. You don't need to look at where it came from. Just follow the process, load it up, let it go, replace it with light. And it can be
Yeah.
really hard to get your head around that.
Yeah.
And even nearly 20 years later, I will have the odd moment in a trigger where I want to think about it. And then I remind myself, and I'm like, well, Melanie, all you're going to do is think yourself more into it with stinking thinking and analysis paralysis, because you don't even have the access to solution in the vibration and the frequency of the problem. Change the frequency and the vibration, get the light in, and then everything else follows, which it does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you know what? That's what most people
So true.
say. Like, the hardest thing to do is when we're about NARP, is when we're really triggered. The last thing we want to do is a healing. We want to think, we want to obsess, we want to get on the phone, we want a cheese sandwich, we want to pick up a cigarette, we want to have a drink, we want to go and
Yeah.
moan to somebody, like
Yes.
we don't want to
Yeah.
just breathe, open up and go and do a healing. But yeah, it's a lot of people get to that, and I love it because they don't understand, but then they do, is when you get that inner voice telling you to quit, you are so close to your breakthrough into your
So
next higher
close.
frequency. Your ego senses that, the internal narcissist, like an external narcissist, when you're just about to go, or when you're getting your sovereign, authentic power, they
Yeah.
will double down and make sure you don't do it. So the voice in your head, you can't heal, what are you doing? You're wasting your time, all that. It's because you're that close. That's why it
Yes.
happens.
Yeah. It's so true. Definitely. Yeah.
It's all an inversion. Everything that we've thought we knew to be the truth is actually not. So,
Yeah. And you get so good at your healings that because you can think so much clearer. Your brains just has so much, like your body has so
yes.
much expansion. And so when I have a trigger now, and if I go into my head, it's quite easy for me, and it used to not be, but it's quite easy for me now. I've found to just go, hold on, just breathe and go into your body. And then I
Yeah.
do that, and then I'm calm within 2 seconds, and I'm like, oh, that's the answer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. When
it's
you
crazy how
shift,
quick it
you
is.
are the answer. That's the beautiful thing about trauma to higher self. The higher self replacement, where the trauma was, is the answer. So you become the answer.
Yeah.
And you attract the answer from the field, because your true self is the field. It is all that is. And then you have the field as your dream team, bringing you the solution, as well as you being inspired and divinely guided by higher intelligence, 40 million bits per second, which is God's source creation, prime creator, the infinite mind of wisdom, rather than the 40 bits per second that is the tiny mind, which has no access to anything in trauma. It's in your amygdala, which is fight, freeze, free, or fawn. There's no solution
Yeah.
there anyway. And we're not
Mm,
taught this stuff. It's just crazy.
I
So
know.
I
And it's
love
easy
that
to
you worked it out.
yeah, and it's easy to think, that it doesn't work because
Mm.
it's not like it's never natural for me to do what I did. It was never natural for me to feel my emotions. I never fully felt them before. I literally thought
Yes.
I was gonna die. I know that sounds dramatic, but it was very scary. Or you,
But
and
we've
then,
been taught that. We've been
yeah,
programmed that.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
yeah, like you can't
and
defeat what you can't meet, and you can't heal what you can't feel.
yeah, exactly. And then
And
you
as little
and then
kids,
you
we were
heal
told, yeah, sorry, you
to
go.
be
Sorry,
quiet.
Dol, for interrupting.
Yeah, no,
You go.
that's right. You're told to be quiet. I know what you're going to say. To be shush and not have feelings. You're only allowed to be a tiny bit of happy. So yeah, that when you heal and you realize that it's okay to feel. One of my
Mm.
biggest things, I'm sure this connects with people. One of my biggest things was um that well, one, it was not okay to be myself. That was a
Oh,
huge one.
yeah. Oh, God.
Being myself was completely scary. Trusting myself was another one that was
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
And all my choices were bad as well. So when I finally, you know,
Wow.
felt like I was okay with myself, that changed everything. I remember the day that I started to love myself, and that's
Mm.
something. Once you've got you, which you can heal your traumas, once you've got you and you feel
Yeah.
safe and comfortable and you've got your back, it's
Mm.
amazing how quickly your life changes.
Mm.
It really is. And as a
Mm.
mum or as a parent, because I know this relates to men and women, when you
Yes.
start having confidence and you start believing in yourself and loving yourself, that effect on your children is so incredible. I remember I've done healings about loving myself, and 2 minutes later, my son will come up to me and say, "Oh gosh, I love you." Or
Oh,
like it's
bless.
just this flow on effect. Or all of a sudden I'll be doing a healing and he'll say, "Mum," and he won't know I'm doing a healing, and he'll say, "Mummy, I feel yucky." And then I'll release the trauma and he'll be like, "Oh gosh, let's go play and do something." It's
Yeah.
crazy how you're so connected to
Mm-hmm.
your children. It's really
Mm.
beautiful to watch them grow with you.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so
From the
that's very
inside.
special. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
It's quantum
yeah.
entanglement. And when we shift in our frequency and our DNA capacity and get more light in and trauma out, there's shifts and follows as well. So
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
beautiful. Mm.
I love that. I love that. So what are you working on with Quantum Freedom Healing now? Like, what's your next expansion? Where are you going?
So I'm currently working on a little bit more of my healthy eating.
Mm-hmm.
I did some healings and then all of a sudden found someone online, and I was listening, and all my bloatedness went really quickly. And then so I just want to keep healing to just build that up a little bit more.
Beautiful.
Um, I've also got a little bit more still with the court stuff, because I feel like I want that resolved. I feel like I want to either get them maybe suspended or just for now, because they haven't been in effect anyway. So I just want to get some
Mm-hmm.
clarification on that.
Yep.
Making some moves as well, moving house. That's something in the works for me. Um,
Yep.
and I just keep healing anything that comes up, honestly, just
Yeah.
everything. I've done so much, and there's been so many benefits. I've changed careers. I'm in an amazing job, which I never thought would be possible, surrounded by
Mm.
amazing people.
Oh,
Um, I've
yes.
written I've written books. I've Yeah, I'm moving closer to the water because that's my favorite area to be at, which I haven't been at for a few years. So that'll be exciting.
So these books, tell everybody
Yeah.
about these books. I love this.
Yeah, so I've written about 8 to 10 children's books, and
Wow.
and actually all the ideas came to me over one weekend, funny enough. But I've got
Channeling, it's
one
divine
channel.
guidance. That's how it
Yeah,
works. Yeah.
it is really amazing. I've healed so many, and I've been knocked before, but so much by the narcissist, and I knew that was a block of mine. So I was healing those traumas of being criticized for every little thing that I did. I couldn't even, walk straight or proper to him. So when I've healed that, all of a sudden, all of this energy came to me, and I was just writing books. I'm halfway through like a murder mystery one for adults. I'm just like can't stop sometimes writing. So it's fun.
Wow. What a
Yeah,
gift.
yeah. So thank you. I've illustrated my first book, and yeah, hopefully we'll get them printed soon and get started in that that direction.
Oh
That makes me
my.
really happy. Mm.
Well, when you launch these, we'll have to have you back on and put it out to the community 100% and back you up on this because I love. Well, you're on Dharma now. You're on soul mission. When trauma's gone and light comes in, we ignite into our contributions to the planet, which is the stuff that we want to do so much. And everybody's got a Dharma in them, especially people who've been narc abused. And I love that we thrive and ignite those things, which are just incredible. So, what are you excited about in your life now? Like, well, probably everything you just said, yeah?
Yeah, everything. And I have a lot healthier relationship with myself, a lot healthier relationship with people in my life. I've had so
Mm.
many people not in my life. I've lost a lot of people. And then all of
All
these
have.
people are coming in that are more aligned with me. And it's, yeah, I'm in a really good place. I've also actually come to a really good place of like peace and happiness because if things
Mm.
don't work out, I'm human, I have emotions, but the acceptance of where I'm at is so profound for me at the moment, and that's huge. So I'm excited about everything. I love that I know some things that I want to do, but also don't know some things that are going to happen. So it's all
Mm.
fun, and to feel safe and calm in my body is a huge thing that I've achieved. So I know that that's possible for anybody. It
Mm.
is.
And I love that you are such an advocate for NARP. And I love that you're in our weekly Shifts Happen, working with our Global Ascension group as well. And it's just beautiful seeing you expanding and breaking through and, encouraging everybody. You're really a way shower. It's just gorgeous. So, Hayley, what would be because let's just, step back into there are people watching this who are not where you and I are. They're in the awful, black, god awful, sticky, mucky drama and pain of narcissistic abuse, which feels like you're in a hellhole. It is that bad.
Yeah.
You know, what encouragement would you give these people?
I would reach out to the community with everything that you need because they are there 110% for you.
Mm.
Um, and giving you guidance on what is good to heal for you at that time and in that moment, what's happening for you
Mm.
to keep going, I would say, because I was there. Everyone has been there. We've all been there. We've all had those. I'm never going to get there. There's too much here. There's too much that has happened to me. I promise you from the bottom of my heart that you
Mm.
can get there if you keep going. I'm very serious. It's something that will happen if you just pick up all your traumas and just keep removing them. You'll get stronger. You'll feel more confident. You'll feel more alive. You'll smile more. You'll start feeling happier.
Mm.
You'll start feeling more supported, and life will just get better and better as it goes on. I promise. Yeah, it's amazing.
And if we don't go within, we go without.
Yeah,
It's all about the within work. Once we
yeah,
change, everything can change. And that's why I'm so excited about, everything I do and having the best job on the planet is giving people
you
back their
do.
souls, their sovereign, authentic power and waking up to who they really are so that we don't have to get distressed and slammed and minimalized by dark
Mm.
souls on micro or macro levels anymore. It's time to rise and we're doing it. So it's
Yeah,
exciting.
and I wouldn't wish shifts
Hayley,
happen for the world. It's amazing, that group.
I know, I love it. It's my ascension track too. Like I channel the next
It's the
ascension
best.
point and we all get in there and we all do it together. And the shifts in there are just like,
It's
takes me 2 hours
amazing.
to come back down to earth after that. It's just, and you're amazing in it. You're just a gorgeous part of it. We've got all of our beautiful regulars in there from all over the world that are
Yeah, they're so
in the group.
amazing. Mm.
Hayley, thank you so much for this interview. And you can go back to your beautiful boy. And yeah, it's just a joy having you on. And I really trust that your story is going to inspire somebody out there. All right, lovely. Thank you, and have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.